Hello, everybody. It's the first My Music of this week. It's a Monday. Look at that. We're starting early this week. I'm going to be joined any minute now by Simon. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me all the way from,
No
where are you coming from?
Suffolk. So middle
Suffolk.
of the countryside. Yeah.
Oh, very nice indeed. Has the sun finally come out there? It's been absolutely abysmal here most of the day.
It's actually really nice here, yeah. It's very sunny.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. So we may see some sunny Suffolk as well as sunny. Look, I can't even put my teeth in. Let's just go to the video and then we'll come back in a minute when it all starts to work properly. Sunny Somerset was what I was trying to say before my brain detached from my mouth. Simon, thanks for joining me. I know you were hoping that both you and your other half were both going to be here. Do explain where she is.
Oh, she's just not feeling very well, to be honest. Happens, you know. Yeah.
What's it like being in a band which is very much a family affair then?
Yeah, I mean, we started doing music together before we got together. So it's one of those things where we were in and out of different bands, playing music together. And then eventually one thing led to another, and here we are.
The rider was particularly good that night. Does it make it, does it cause any issues in terms of the creative process, or do you, just as in relationships, marriage, whatever, do you actually find that you've got your own place and your own part in the process?
I think, yeah. I mean, we've been obviously between us, we've both been in different bands with other people who are like friends and just people, other musicians, and I suppose the thing is, in every band, when you're recording and writing new material, we have creative differences, and I suppose the thing which is quite nice about being in a relationship is that you can have a ballistic argument about how a guitar sound isn't right, but because you're in a relationship, you kind of get over it quite quick. Whereas, sometimes if it's like a bandmate and you're arguing over the sound of something and your ideas are really strong, that can be 100 times worse, and you don't really get over it in the same way because you can't really approach it in a very open way. Whereas when you know someone really, really well, like you're in a relationship together, it's kind of I mean, we find it easier. I think we're more honest. If we don't like something, you'll just say it.
Well, when I contacted you both, you said, oh, I hope you don't mind, we've got a little one. They might turn up in the middle of the interview, suddenly wanting food or whatever. We've all experienced that over lockdown. Suddenly everything in life went onto Zoom and everything else, and we've become a lot more tolerant of children being in the picture and in the fray, etc. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Does that dynamic, I mean, I certainly find it here. I quite enjoy actually the children wanting to get involved in the creative process, even if it's like just sitting there and messing around with buttons on things, etc. How do you find it as a family unit?
I mean, honestly, our little one is 16 months old, so he's kind of only just discovered pressing buttons. I mean, he fiddles around with my synths and he just kind of runs in and kind of does that.
Loves that.
But no, I
don't touch the preset.
Exactly. I've got this because this is actually we've got a little studio in this room. We do some mixing in here sometimes, and There's like, I mean, I've got this Korg M3R thing. It's like a modular synthesizer looking thing, and it's got like memory cards in it. He always comes in and pulls the memory cards out, and I'm always like, oh my god, no. That's all of my presets going. But actually, no, it's fun. I mean, like you say, I think I think anyone who's got kids is quite rewarding them learning stuff, and it's really exciting. So watching your little one mess around with the synths and finding a mad sound and turning around to you and going, it's actually the best thing in the world. But he's yet to feature on any tracks. We're getting there.
When did music start for you? And did you both have a very similar background in terms of music?
I mean, I've been playing music for a long time. I mean, I think I played my first gig when I was about 12. I used to play guitar in a few bands, but my mum and dad are musicians as well. The first gig I did was actually with them, so they were playing like just a pub thing, and I kind of turned up and played some guitar solos. For Clarice, I think it's more, she started when she was at school and just started singing in like concerts and stuff, and then eventually it just turned to one of those things where, you know, you met some people, they started a band, they started going out and playing gigs. At some point we met up, and then it was like, okay, let's form a band, and we started doing stuff together. So we've done a few projects together, and then this one kind of, we were in a band with another person, and then this one kind of came about quite naturally. We just started writing together on our own, and started Amethysts. But yeah, I suppose, like I say, we both just started quite young and kind of grew into it.
Are you a product of what you listen to, or actually are your listening habits quite different from the sound that you actually make?
I think it's probably a merge of lots of different things we like. I mean, we love everything from like the Cocteau Twins and, you know, old 4AD
Who doesn't
stuff.
love the Cocteau Twins, right?
Well, yeah, Cocteau Twins are amazing. Yeah, everything from Cocteau Twins and, you know, Radiohead right through to kind of, I don't know, I like Phoebe Bridgers at the moment. We both like Bon Iver a lot. We're obsessed with Bon Iver. But then the music we make isn't kind of folky in the same way that some of the artists we like is. It's more electronic. And I think that's just the nature of the fact that we started as a two-piece and we're still a two-piece. But music stuff. And that kind of shaped our sound quite a lot. And we've sort of stuck with it. I think we feel comfortable making that kind of music.
Yeah. Have you listened to the new Boy Genius album?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really good.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always, I love the fun they're having with that as a project as well. They just seem to be reveling in each other's personalities and having a great time as a group of people.
Yeah, I think when you take different musicians with different projects and you put them all together like that, you end up with something which is quite exciting because it's sort of yeah, I mean, throughout the album, it's just it moves sort of gradually between styles. It's not kind of massive jumps, but you can hear it's like different songwriters. Did you see their Coachella set? Have you watched that yet? It was really, really good.
Yeah. No, it's I've watched 2 or 3 of their sets live online now, and I just think, I love the kind of dynamic between them. You can see that they're friends first, and that they really, you know, it's not like with some supergroups in the past, people kind of were pushed together. But they're a group of people that just wanted to hang out. And it comes through in the music. So what's your sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think their musical styles, all of them, like the harmonies and everything, they go so well together. Because I watched their Coachella set yesterday, and there's some moments in it where, like you say, because they're all friends, you get that kind of dynamic on stage where they're all looking at each other and playing off each other, and the harmonies just, they work when they turn around to each other, and they're all like singing in perfect. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. What pushes you as songwriters? What is there something that you want to say into the world, or you just looking to create great tunes?
I think I don't know. We've always been very driven just to make music, because it's almost one of those things you feel like you need to do. It's very hard to explain, but it's almost like if you feel something, sometimes it's like a cathartic process to just put it into music, and it makes it feel better, but it kind of changes your perspective on things. So there's been a lot of times, in the past where just stuff's not gone right, and you put it into a song and it makes it feel 100 times better, but you can end up making something beautiful from something that's actually pretty awful. And it's just, I suppose, I think we both have this kind of like creative thing where we just feel like we need to make music in order to just live. Like, if no one ever listened to our music, we'd still be making music. Wouldn't matter. Like, we'd still be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of your sound, I suppose, people will make comparisons with people like churches, etc.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. Now, obviously, in more recent times, they've collaborated with some really interesting people, like Robert Smith, etc. Who would you love to collaborate with as a duet?
Well, I mean, Justin Vernon, as in Bon Iver. Justin Vernon is like our hero. I think between
if you're watching,
he's just There's something about everything he does. So Bon Iver, Big Red Machine, which he did with Aaron Dessner from The National. Everything that he's on is just so good and so like emotionally in tune, and it's just his sound palettes and stuff. It's just so good. So Justin Vernon probably would be my go-to. But then, someone like Robert Smith is pretty special. I don't think you can really turn your nose up at that. So someone, maybe Stevie Nicks would be quite fun.
She seems to be doing the rounds at the moment, not in a bad way, but she really does seem to be doing the rounds in terms of sort of guesting on people's albums.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel it's like, well, I guess, there was space there because of the death of Christine McVie in terms of what's going to happen with Fleetwood Mac, etc. But do you feel like, why do you think people are coming around to Christine? Why do you think people are coming around to Stevie Nicks in terms of a voice again?
I mean, I think she's.
It's a great
amazing.
voice.
Yeah, I think she's. I mean, that kind of 70s sort of thing is coming back around. Like, people are starting to play guitar solos again, which I'm very happy about. And she's just, I mean, Stevie Nicks is like a voice of, she's that generation, that kind of like that sound, like I think for a lot of people, I think just generally she's a very good songwriter as well. She's a very good vocalist. She's very emotive, but kind of like she's always been really like had a drive and a fire in her belly. So I can kind of understand that maybe for her it's about her kind of experimenting a bit and just trying different stuff and trying things with different artists,
Yeah, I think it must be fun. You get to a certain age in music and it's like, I can do what I like.
yeah, exactly. I mean, for her, she could do whatever she wants to. Most people she could bring up and say, can I be on your track? And they say yes.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to probably say no to Damon Albarn.
Exactly.
When Damon Albarn phones you and says, well, do you want to be on the Gorillaz album? I mean, that's a surefire thing, really, isn't it?
It is, I think so.
And I mean, he continues to push the boundaries of where he's going songwriter-wise. I think it's brilliant what he does with his career. But in terms of trying to make something unique sound-wise, I mean, you said your little one was coming in and playing with your Sims.
Yes.
They developed any sounds for you yet? But is there anything that you try and do to try and create a unique sound? Or
I suppose, I mean, I am like, I don't know, you can't really tell necessarily from listening to our music on a surface level, but I have a lot of guitar pedals, and a lot of the sounds you hear sound like they might be synths, but actually they just a guitar put through something. So on that level, there's like a lot of experimentation with kind of making sounds rather than it being like going into Logic and finding presets. It's more about,
I love that,
finding something that makes a warming, nice sound. I mean, a bit like this random Korg thing I've got. I could have just got a synth and used that, but it's like a rack mounted thing. I suppose we always try to find the balance. Like, our music moves between being like indie and then pop, and then we've got moments where it kind of turns into almost like dance stuff, where it's sort of a fall to the floor and lots of electronics, just wild, crazy sampling going on. And I think we don't necessarily try to make anything which is innately different from anything else. It's just we experiment with sounds until we end up with something we like. And we've got a real thing about trying to make music which is not only like emotionally right and kind of gets across what we're trying to say, but also it sort of feels kind of I don't know, sort of accessible, but also a little bit like, if you listen a bit closer, there's lots of things happening where you think, oh, that's interesting, what's that? I never know if that comes across or not, but hopefully.
Well, I'm sure it does, yeah. And do people ever tell you where they listen to your music? Because I always think that's a great sort of litmus test, if you like, for how your music is received. Do they ever tell you, oh yeah, I listen to your music when I'm in bed, I listen to your music when I'm on the bus, I listen to you? Do people tell you that sort of stuff or not?
There's quite a lot of people who, I mean, there's people who listen to our music driving, but I think that's just a music thing generally, isn't it? You stick something in the car that you're listening to if you're listening to an album. But I think I know there's a couple of people who have said to us that it's kind of one of those, oh, I'll sit down with a glass of wine and chill out to your music. I mean, it's quite funny. There's a few other people who, like, I don't know, come to a lot of our gigs and stuff, who really are quite into rock and then also our music, which is quite bizarre, but there you go. And I think it's kind of, I don't know, it's just something about the way we approach making songs which appeals to people who are into heavy rock. I mean, literally one of the guys who is, we did a session in someone's kitchen a while ago. It was we live streamed it, and he basically set us up in his kitchen. We played, and he is one of the sort of MCs at Bloodstock, which is, like the heavy metal festival.
Yeah, right.
And he really loves us as well. So there you go.
Is that partly, do you think, in terms of presence, in terms of the way that you hold yourself on the stage, etc.? Because I think in particular, kind of the rock fraternity love how someone works as a vocalist, or how they hold the stage.
Yeah. I mean, live, I suppose, Clarice's vocals are very kind of, she's got like a real kind of soaring vocal. It's sort of, she can
quite
really
beguiling.
Yeah, but she can really like belt it out if she wants to. I mean, more so than on record, and it's something actually, we worked with the producer in London on our last album. We're kind of working on a new EP at the moment. It's kind of trying to find the balance where we can find the middle ground and get across potentially what we have live, which sometimes we don't have on record, which is like, we're quite guitar-y live. It's sort of, there's moments of guitar solos and stuff. Yeah, it's about that boundary where you can play a really kind of over-the-top guitar solo live and get away with it. When you do it on record, sometimes it just sounds really cheesy. So it's like trying to find that balance. And I think maybe live that is, like you say, it's like a rock thing. If you see someone playing a long guitar solo, it's the last track on our album, our album we brought out. I think it's back in 2021 now. The last track on there has like a big long guitar solo at the end of it, but that's kind of the energy we have live a lot more. So maybe that's why. Maybe like the soaring vocals, big guitar solos. There's lots of bass as well. We're very, very bassy live, and I suppose that's kind of like a heavy.
That's quite rock
rumbly.
As well. Is that something then you're pushing for going forward? Is to try and capture something a little bit more raw, sound-wise?
I guess so. I mean, the stuff we're working on at the moment, it's like we're using a lot more like distortion on the vocals, and we're kind of. It's difficult because I think the music we make doesn't lend itself to automatically sounding raw because we're making quite sort of melancholic stuff. It's quite sort of personal. It's very easy to think I can't keep that mental sound in there. So we're finding the balance. But yeah, like you say, it's something we're kind of working towards, trying to potentially find the right producer who can kind of bring that out of us, I think.
Yeah. And it's difficult, isn't it? You wonder whether that's for a particular project rather than necessarily as part of an album, if you know what I mean by that. I think of artists that I've listened to in the past, like Stina Nordenstam, for example, who did a whole lot of wonderful, quite light, jazzy, very warm albums, and then did, Dynamite, where it was very aggressive and in your face, etc. And I think it had to be almost a project on its own.
I mean, I don't think any of our music, I think just the nature of us as people will ever sound that kind of edgy, I mean, edgy's not the word, sort of punchy, rocky, I suppose. But I suppose more of what we're trying to get in there is like, I think when you listen to some of the tracks of ours where there's a lot of like sample heavy stuff and it's a bit more glitchy, that side of our music sometimes we kind of suppress a little bit when we're recording, when actually maybe we, because we're doing an EP, we're kind of, there's a couple of labels we might work with on it, so it depends what they kind of think. But I suppose we could use this as a bit of an experiment to kind of see what way we take our sound. I suppose an example, there was I remember after Ben Howard's first album, because his first album was very like chilled acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
And then he did that EP, Burr Island EP, was that
Burr Island, yeah.
And it was almost like dark, kind of. It was like a sort of tester to see this album I'm planning to make. Is it going to work? Are people going to like it? I suppose that's kind of where we're at. We're thinking, right, I think the sound we want to make, whether we're going to get there, is almost, we called it 70s tinted electronic dream pop.
I love that. I love that. I think it's important for artists to do that. Yeah, I mean the Ben Howard thing is a really good example of that, because the first album got a lot of popular radio airplay, etc., and it had a lot of tunes in it, and then he deconstructed himself to some extent, which was great.
Yeah.
And in the process created songs which were, or a sound which was probably gave him much more longevity as an artist.
Yeah, no, 100%. I that's one of our all-time favorite albums. His second one, I forget where we were. That is just like, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily know listening to our music, but that's one of our favorite albums of all time.
Well, yeah, I think you can. The trouble is, as soon as you say that, people will now listen to it and go, But I mean, yeah, that's the great thing about music. People's musical influences come from all over the shop and come into what they're doing, etc. And you bring your own palette, your own experiences into it as well, and you create something fantastic and different and new. And no two things are the same. And I think, and artists evolve as they write as well.
Yeah.
So it's great that what you did yesterday is not what you're going to do tomorrow. I think that's good.
Absolutely. I think if you stagnate on one sound too much, you can lose the exciting thing that you had in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
It's absolutely
kind of about growing and moving. Yeah.
Thank you for coming and sharing a little bit today, talking a little bit about your music.
No worries.
I love the clock, by the way, as will
everybody
that's watching.
Yeah, it's David Bowie. It's Hunky Dory.
There you go. We could have asked that as a question and had people guessing, but now people know.
Well, there you go.
Perhaps what we'll do is we'll put that in right at the beginning in the text and say, you have to guess what the album is, and you have to listen to the whole of the interview in order to find that out. So that brings you nicely to the end. In terms of your music, where's the best place for people to listen to it?
Probably Spotify at the moment. Apple Music, maybe. We get more streams than Apple Music, so if that makes a difference. But yeah,
because more people have got Apple products.
I don't know. Yeah, probably Spotify. If you look up Amethysts, you'll find us eventually.
Okay. But what about buying it? What about paying you some money?
We've got a Bandcamp page with CDs and a few bits of merch on there, which are available. But yeah, like I say, we're working on some new material. Hopefully we're going to have it ready. We're playing a few shows this summer and we're hoping to have everything ready by then. But yeah, maybe Bandcamp is the best place to go. But you can find us. We are Amethysts on all social media. So if you type in "We Are Amethysts," you'll find us and you'll find links to everything there.
Do you need babysitters for when you go out gigging?
Oh yes. At the moment, Clarice's mum is kind of looking after our little one a lot. Our little one, by the way, is called Hendrix after Jimi Hendrix.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, if he doesn't play guitar, I'm going to be very sad because that name is. He's got a guitar. So if he doesn't play it, I'll play it. So it's fine. But...
Well, I think as a piece of advice, there is the best way to go about that is to just play guitar and not really try and push them to do it.
Yes,
that's what I found. Because as soon as you start to push, they pull away.
Yeah.
I
can see that.
Yeah, I've enjoyed throughout the years with our youngsters. Certainly, like when the eldest ones were younger, I'd be playing stuff like Bowie or whatever in the kitchen, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is dreadful," and their mum would be like, "Well, this is dreadful," because she doesn't like anything other than pop music. But then as they get older, they turn to you and they go, "Hey, Dad, you should listen to this," and then they just be playing you back all the stuff you played at them.
Amazing.
So the best way is to just have it there, so that they absorb it, but just let them believe that they're bringing it to you.
Well, he does. He walks around and he says guitar. That's one of his first words.
There you go.
So if he doesn't, but he does. We've been to gigs with him, and he normally gravitates towards the drummer and watches the drummer more. So maybe he's going to be a drummer. You
listen. You're not going to be upset if he becomes a great drummer.
I'm going to be very happy if he becomes a great drummer. I can't play drums, so yeah. We play. It's funny. We play live. We use like an electronic drum pad, so I only play a bit of drums. But I think the idea of sitting down at a whole drum kit to me is foreign. We sometimes use a drummer, but it'd be nice to have a drummer who's a child. I can tell him to listen to everyone else around him rather than smashing his kit really hard.
16 years from now, there will be an Amethysts album with Hendrix playing drums. There you go.
Yeah,
and it'll be a wonderful thing. Simon, it's been a pleasure.
You too. Thank you very much.
Give my love to your wife. Hope she gets better soon.
Thank you very much.
And say hi to Hendrix for us as well.
Will do.
People, do go and check out Amethyst music. It's absolutely fantastic. If you haven't listened to it yet, why not? What you're doing. Do share this as well on all of the social media platforms. I don't care about me. It's all about the musicians. So just go and do it for them. Okay. If you've enjoyed this, it's my music. If you haven't, it was some podcast on, I don't know, the Battle of the Zoin. I don't know, something. But there we go. Until next time, this has been My Music with Graham K. Bye for now.